So with the possible 6,000 new residents moving into Greenbelt, City Council and the developers at Beltway Plaza are still talking.
Yes, they are. So I saw that article. It was going to be in the paper this week, and I thought, okay, more about Beltway Plaza. Maybe people are getting a little tired of it, but really, Greenbelters shouldn't be getting tired of it. They should be glad that, as you say, they're still talking about it. Talking about things like housing for the elderly housing, senior housing, housing for people, for handicapped accessible, percentages of rental properties and owned properties, because that also says something about the flavor of a neighborhood. The whole mixed use idea that there'll be retail, but also recreational area, and that the developers are still wanting to hear, and council doesn't hesitate to share, how many square feet we think there should be more for recreation and so forth. So conversation is continuing, and that's good.
Right, and I guess 2,500 units, right? And they were looking at the impact of traffic pretty far away from where the actual buildings are going to be, because I guess that's a lot of people. That's a lot of.
It is. So a couple things that were new to me on the whole topic, and one, the article mentions in the meeting, they talked about a shuttle. The necessity with all those people, the necessity of having shuttle service from that housing to the metro. So that's one thing that stuck out.
Right, I think Ed wanted to also add Roosevelt Center to that, to maybe use that opportunity to link more of the town together, which we kind of need.
That would be great. That would be absolutely great. I'm kind of, here's my hope, and this is just, this wasn't mentioned at the meeting, but in a way, I almost see this development as having the potential to be a new center for Greenbelt, a new downtown. Now, it's sort of heretical to say that. We don't want to replace the Roosevelt Center. It's important, it's historic, etc. But something that is sort of a central place for broader Greenbelt, And so, to link the two, sounds good. Here's another thing that I was glad to see, or first time I had seen, they specifically mentioned Giant, Target, and one other store, that would be sort of the larger anchor stores. And so a comment that one of the people on the development side made at the meeting was, to have something this mixed use, what we're headed for here is fairly unique across the U.S. as you look at various town centers, and they're all around in Washington. Laurel has one. There's, all around Washington you can see the way we're approaching it, apparently, from what they say, is different.
And a really complex undertaking. So I'm glad that they're listening and they're trying to incorporate our input as well, right?
Yeah, they are. And hopefully they bring new information each time. They go take a few more steps. Okay, how does this look? Good, bad? Here's some thoughts and so forth.
And they go before the county council, Feb 20. So it kind of out of our hands and into theirs, right?
Again, lots of moving pieces. So, and in a sense, I suppose the county council has more to say than we do. In a way, it's almost a courtesy thing, more than courtesy. But I don't think Greenbelt has a direct legislative impact, though Greenbelt will certainly have tasks, things to do because of it. Everything from policing to providing schools for children, etc.
Right, so we're growing. We're going to keep growing. And I guess some of us are like, wait a second, but I don't think we can stop it.
No. Just so long as they read the news review.
Right.
I'm happy with the growth.
So last Sunday, we celebrated Black History Month. And Chris Haley was the keynote speaker. And he had some really amazing things to tell us about the history of slavery here in the county itself.
Right. And if I can just, forgive me slightly, correct the way you said it or expand on it, it wasn't, we kicked off Black History Month. This is, my understanding is that this is the first month that it's pretty extensive, all the things that will be happening throughout the month. This was just the beginning. You'll see several other articles in the paper this week, and over the coming weeks you'll see, that the museum's doing something, the Democratic Club is doing something. So this was just the first, this is just the first of several things. So, but yeah, the huge, enslaved people in Maryland and that history, and like the economic value or the market value or the purchasing power, I think is how the article puts it. How many, $1 billion or a huge amount of, $2 billion? $2 billion.
And that we had more slaves here by a ratio of 10 to 1 than to anywhere else in the state, which was astounding. Right?
Yeah. And by here you mean Prince George's County. Yeah. It's some amazing history, some startling and it's interesting history. So, yeah, and there were other things too at that event. It was the talk, but there was also a reading, poetry from the poet laureate of Prince George's County. There were
Sister Joy.
Yes, that's right, Sister Joy. And then there were performances. I think City Stars, jump rope, troop team.
That's right, and the gospel choir from Roosevelt. Who they closed out the program, and it was a really just stirring, very emotional performance, and just a great way to end that program.
Great. Good.
So Census Day is approaching, and the county is really making an effort to try and make up for the undercount that happened 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it is important. It's very important because it's just every 10 years we have the opportunity, and we need to be, it's a constitutionally, on a federal level, on the national level, constitutionally mandated that we count. And what we get, why is, in terms of representation in Congress, House of Representatives, redistricting depending on population, and maybe an even bigger thing, and that is federal funding for various programs that, you're a certain size, you're bigger, that would increase the funding. And there's even a figure, it's
$18,000 per uncounted person over that course of 10 years. And that's a lot of,
Yes,
that's
so
significant.
Just to say to yourself, if I don't participate in the census, that's $18,000 less in, federally available funding for, important stuff, important programs.
The other thing that struck me in the article was that there was a national undercount of children, and it was pretty darn big. It was like by 4.6%, and that's millions of kids, and that also changes things around.
Yeah, it does. Even our understanding of the needs, what needs of children in the United States, in Prince George's County and Greenbelt, need to be addressed that aren't, maybe because of that undercount.
Great. Well, thanks for bringing us up to speed on events here in Greenbelt.
My pleasure.